Good afternoon. Welcome to the 23rd episode of Rachel Pilcher Writing Workshops Live. I'm Rachel Pilcher. Let's go ahead and get started tonight. I do want to remind y'all, I know I mentioned this last time and I'll mention it several times before the actual event, but coming up on July the 27th, it's a Saturday, I have the honor of presenting the keynote at UTA's Writer Symposium. For more information about this event, please go to rachelpilcherwritingworkshops.com and click on speaking engagements. I can tell you the lineup from what I've seen, it's going to be pretty great for that conference, and that's that's not counting just me being there, but I'm really excited about it. I can't wait to go there, and they have the night before, they have a Meet the Author on the 26th, Friday the 26th, that we'll all have tables so you can come by and chat with me and get kind of the inside scoop before I even get up and talk as the keynote. So I look forward to that, and I hope to see you there. So for tonight's episode, it's titled "When is my work ready to publish?" Recently, I had an email from one of the newsletters of Hope C. Clark. She is a mystery writer, and she sends out a newsletter at least once a week. And in this last newsletter, it was talking about the steps that she goes for preparing her writing for publication. And I felt this was very fitting, and considering the last episode where I talked about getting an editor and knowing exactly what kind of editor you might need. So I thought I'd share some of the information that she provided in the newsletter. Not reinventing the wheel here. And a lot of what she said, it really made a lot of sense to me, because it's exactly the way that every publisher and every writer should go about getting their manuscripts ready. So, when is your work ready to publish? The steps to publication. So the first step is, of course, to write the first draft. So you can go any way that you want to about getting that first draft written, whether it is flying by the seat of your pants, which I really hope you don't do. I kind of like planning. I like working with authors who plan, but you can be a pantser. You can be a plantser, which is a combination of a planner and a pantser. Or you can, like I said, do that combination, or definitely sit down and plan it out. So plan it out, write the first draft. Some tend to edit as they go, reading the previous chapters before they get started on the next chapter, and sometimes that's good to do. I have done a combination of both depending on what I'm writing. I'm doing a collection of short stories right now, so it makes it really easy to kind of edit as I go. Write a story, edit it, present it to the critique group, edit some more, go on. So, but some like to just go straight through, and that is one way of doing it that could work really well for you. It just depends on what you're the most comfortable with. Some people don't like that interruption of the momentum, having to stop and go back and read over. I personally would think that it is a good thing to, after you finish a chapter, go back, read it, make sure you fix anything that might need to be fixed while you still have those ideas in mind. If you need to continue on to the next chapter because your brain just won't stop thinking about that chapter, then go ahead. But I like the idea of going back and looking over it. It's just, it's comfort for me. It would make me feel more comfortable for my own writing. So, but you can do it either way, either way you want to go. Number 2, read the entire manuscript aloud, catching any big mistakes that you might have. That is number 1 important thing to do. I try to do that with every submission I do to my critique group, just to make sure that I don't miss anything. And sometimes even when you read aloud, you fill in those words that you may have either messed up or missed. I miss words a lot because I think in my mind I've written the word down, but it's not really there. So make sure that you read it aloud. Read it to someone, or have someone else read it aloud while you read it silently along with them. That can help, because on those mistakes that you think, oh well, I put that in there, they'll catch it when they're reading it, because they're able to not know that word needs to be filled in there. So that is a great suggestion right there, to read it, have someone read it to you. They do have some computer programs that you can use that will do that audio for you. I've never personally used them because they've always seemed a little bit too mechanical. But I like having a live reader, so that helps. Either it's me or someone else. Number 3, do a repeating word edit. So this could take several days within your rewrite period. So what you do is you can make a list from an audio edit. You can plug in the text and find the repeating words from several free programs like Word Frequency Counter. That's very useful. I haven't used one of those before, but I will totally take that into account with my next book that I'm writing, because there are so many times I have found that even in manuscripts that I've written I have a screenplay especially that I had been working on, that I tend to use the word though, Though, quite a bit. Like, all of my characters were saying though. I had one page where I had 20 those, and that is just not good. So looking for those repeated words is always helpful. And I find as an editor that I will look at people's repeated words because I'll notice if there's a lot of buts that are throughout. There's like, you've said but 20 times. There's too many buts on this page, which always gets a laugh. So, but you know, you want to make sure that you do that. So that could actually count as draft 2. So your first draft was writing it down. Your second draft is going through and finding those repeated words and trying to eliminate them, replace them with other words, rewriting the sentences so that you don't have to use that word, and doing all that. So, number 4, do a character tag edit, trying to remove as many character tags as possible and replacing them with beats or internal monologue or narrative that makes it clear who's speaking. That is, I know many writers who try to eliminate their character tags as they're writing, and it makes it difficult sometimes to tell who is actually talking. I know I worked with one in particular. She hated using character tags. Hated them. So she would have full pages with lines of dialogue, but you could not tell who was talking, even if it was specific. It was something that should have been very specific. So character tags, it's just that, you know, Elizabeth said this, or she said that, or you know, Reginald did this. That's what that means by character tags. So you have to try to figure out ways to infer which character is talking, or, you know, maybe Reginald walked across the room and then he turned to Elizabeth and then said whatever his dialogue is. So I like Reginald and Elizabeth. I might have to use those characters somewhere. But so just in doing that, that will create draft 3. So you've done 3 drafts just by doing basic simple edits. So looking for repeated words and then looking at character tags to try to make sure that those flow better. So number 5, you send it to beta readers. Now this may be the time where you actually get to sending it to your critique group. You may have, you know, after the first draft, you take it to your critique group, because a lot of times that is when you get the chance to read aloud. But your beta readers are going to be the ones that are going to read your entire manuscript. And we've talked about beta readers before. I think 2 episodes ago, or 3 episodes, we talked about beta readers. And this is when you would send to your beta readers. So after the 3rd draft, you send to your beta readers. And then you read over what your beta readers suggest. See, my mother just joined and she says, hi. Hi, Sandra. Hi, Mama. That sounds weird. Hi, Sandra. But you're my mom. So you'll send it to your beta readers. And then once you get back their suggestions, you'll read over their edit suggestions. And you'll keep in mind that a beta reader could suggest that something is ambiguous, as you know, chapter 5 needs to have more emotion from your protagonist, or, you know, what happened to the cat in chapter 10. But that is something that you might want to address at that point. But you need to edit from your beta readers based on what works for your writing. So then, after your beta readers have it, you do the editing from what they suggest, if you agree with what they're offering, and then you have completed draft 4. Estefania says, yay for processes. I love processes. You know, I mean, it's kind of like a listicle, but but it gets things done. You know, at least you know, okay, well, I've done this. Let's go to the next step. So, number 6, you're going to look for common weaknesses and add other layers of edits based upon what you need. So, you know, as a writer, what you are weak at doing. You know, possibly you tend to have a passive voice, and one of the things I tend to write with passive voice sometimes. And of course, you know, when I write in Word, it gives me the little squiggle and it says passive voice. Well, I think it just says passive, but I go in and I'm like, okay, well, I need to change that. So even if you're using Microsoft Word, it will tell you if you're writing in passive voice. You might want to go through and remove adverbs. Some people get very annoyed if there are multiple adverbs that are in various sections. So you go do that. Make sure that you reword for that you do rewording for ambiguous words such as, you know, it, there, that, and so on. So anything that doesn't provide clarity for what you're trying to get across in your writing, you will need to go through and pick that out on draft 5. So that's 5 drafts so far. We haven't sent anything to a publisher yet. So that's telling you that's a lot of work. And there are some writers that will get to this point and they're at draft 35 because they've completely rewritten the whole thing. They don't just do these things to get it to where it needs to be. Number 7 is you perform a final draft, final edit, to hunt for anything else that might be missing. It should be a faster read. You should have so much clarity at this point that you will be able to catch anything that is wrong with whatever is within your manuscript at that point. So that is draft 6. At that point, if you have a literary agent, it's number 8. If you have a literary agent, you can send that draft to them. That's considered kind of the final draft. I can tell you, based on what others have told me about their literary agents, their literary agent will read over it and they'll go, well, you know, market-wise, you might want to have this, or you might want to take this out, or this section doesn't make any sense. A lot of times they'll do that. It's kind of like a pre-editing. If you're already working with a traditional publisher, then you will send it to them, and their editors would then go through and do the nitpicky stuff, and they may have you do multiple drafts from there. So at this time, it'll go then through a developmental edit, where they will go through and pick out the nitpicky things. It'll go through a copy edit, and then it'll go through proof review, and in between each, they will send you a draft for you to go through and proof anything that you agree with, take out things that it's like, oh, I can't believe after all of these drafts, I left that in there. And then you can make the consideration on the changes. So at this point, with the draft that you sent to them, at that point, that is 6 drafts. If you are a self-publisher or an independent publisher, it's what I tend to call self-publishers, because independent publishers, you know, it's like an indie filmmaker. You're the one that is putting all of the effort and the work towards it. They don't call them self-filmmakers. They call them indie filmmakers. You are an indie publisher. That is when you hire an editor. So then you go back to the last episode and kind of look over that and see exactly what it is that you want to use at that point to figure out where you need to go from there before you publish. So, when you're doing any of the above edits, just remember other issues are bound to be found. And sometimes editing can feel like a never-ending journey, and it 100% can be. There are people that get stuck in an editing circle and they can't get out of it. So at some point, though, you have to be strong enough to say, okay, I'm done with this part. Let's move on. But all of it is totally necessary to get you where you need to be to get your work ready to be published. So if you found this information helpful, or you think that others might use it, make sure that you hit the like button right over here in the corner, and then feel free to share this video with those of you, with those who you think could be helped with this information that I've provided today. So if there's any topic that y'all would like for me to cover in future episode, either mention it in the comments. I'm definitely open and communicative through the comments, or message me via the Rachel Pilcher Writing Workshops Facebook page, or you can email me at rachel@rachelpilcher.com. Finally, tonight, I would like to take a moment to let you know about my creativity mentoring. My calendar has recently opened up fairly well, and I'm currently taking on new clients. So if you are interested in finding out more about creativity mentoring and the topics that I've worked with others to get going for their processes, please head over to the Rachel Pilcher Writing Workshops.com page and click on Creativity Mentoring for more information. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. I look forward to seeing y'all in 2 weeks, Sunday, July the 14th, which, if you're a Francophile, is Bastille Day. Look forward to seeing you on Bastille Day. I'll be wearing my red, white, and blue that I have left over from Thursday for 4th of July. So I'll be doing that right here on the Rachel Pilcher Writing Workshops Facebook page for another writerly discussion. Have a good evening.